I want to tell you a super short personal anecdote because I think in the culture where I come from, partly Hungarian, partly Yugoslavian, Serbian, whatever it's called now, you have to have two good jobs to survive. You don't have one main job and one kind of play job. And I think there, if you're fighting for jobs that give you enough salary, then you have to be an engineer or a doctor. And I remember not really, I mean, had no idea what I was going to be when I grow up. I still don't know if I know it. The beauty about IT is that you can keep adding and changing and growing all your life. But my aunt, I was asking, what do you want to be when you were, what are you going to study? And I was like, I'm not sure. And she says, well, you're good at maths, so you should be an engineer. And by the way, you're too introverts to be a doctor. So, you know, that kind of sealed it. And it has to do with these stereotypes, I think. And to be honest, I pushed myself through IT studies. I hated the loneliness of the computer room at Institute for Informatics at the University of Oslo. It wasn't very easy to get anyone to look at you or smile the first time, etc. Some of my best friends today are people that I met there and eventually befriended, but it was hard work. and I can't say that I fell in love with IT immediately, but I love what you're being able to do with it now. And you can use it as a board member, you can use it as a business developer, you can use it as an IT expert or as an AI interested person. But it has to do with these interesting professors, eventually. I was maybe 40 when I picked up a book called Algorithms to Live by two young Stanford professors. And it explained algorithms in a way that made my skin tingle. And I was like, I wish I read this book 20 years ago. You know, I would have fallen in love with my subject much earlier. So I think it's really, really important that we also give, you know, very inspiring packaging to these subjects. So our next speaker is a good friend and fellow, maybe, I don't know, Eastern European. Ieva Martinkenaite, a Lithuanian-born, internationally raised technology optimist, a political scientist, and international business scholar by background. And she's a senior manager in practice, currently spearheading Telenor's research and innovation unit, where intelligent minds do the possible and impossible in AI, cloud, and next-generation networks. She plays the violin, she plays the piano, she's a mother of two, she even likes to ski. You're almost too integrated, Ieva. And you can find her both on high-tech conferences, classical music events, and on the mountains. But today, you can meet her here. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for introducing, and it's really my pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot, Hilde. I'm humbled and passionate to read your book, and I will definitely do that, so thanks a lot. What I plan to tell you today or share my story, actually, of being actually not an IT expert. I have to say I'm not a mathematician, I'm not a computer scientist. I'm actually a business manager. But what I do, I actually hopefully also inspire the tech people to do interesting, important job for companies. So this is what I will talk about, how and what I do. So, and I title it, I mean, I can't leave Telenor. I mean, it's something about telecoms that comes very close to my heart. So I will talk a little bit about what we do, but I'll try to share my story, because there's so many stories in Telenor. Okay, let me see if I can move it. Something I can't, let's see. Let's, yeah, it's probably I need to click it. Yeah, but I can. Skal vi se. Yeah. Okay, I will skip that slide, but I want to focus on the last part, which is very important for all of us, not only women, but men. I'm actually arrived to Norway let me see, I'm start losing the number, but it's been almost 15 years probably. So I still haven't really learned how to ski professionally. I'm doing my really best. But it's a fascinating country. I fell in love with the country. I came to do my PhD as I'm a science immigrant. And I finished my PhD at BI Norwegian Business School in strategy and M&As. Very different. So I never thought I would do anything with AI. Never. I'm married, 2 kids, science immigrant, as I said, very strong tech enthusiast. I strongly believe technology can make good for society. And as Sylvia said, I'm actually a professional violinist and piano player. So I've been doing it in the country where I come from, Lithuania, for almost 20 years. So, a little bit what I do. Today I'm leading a research and innovation function globally in Telenor. Telenor is one of the biggest companies in Norway. Super proud to be in. I actually grew there from a research scientist. I came to work in Telenor after my PhD. Someone at BI told me, actually not someone, very honorable professor, said, you know what, if you had to pick a place to do applied research, you should go to either Telenor, either Equinor at that time, or Aker. I said, right, what do these companies do? And then he said, well, one is drilling oil, all right. The one is selling SIM cards. And the third is, I don't know, something about oil. That's what, I'm sorry, he said. And I was, of course, I was not interested. I said, none of this really is of interest. I mean, to be honest, I mean, it's really boring. But one thing he said, but you know, Telenor has a dedicated research department. And of course, Equinor does that as well, but you really should try that. Maybe there's something for you. And by the time I actually came to Telenor, I mean, I was studying also in the US, and after I turned back from the US, I realized, no, I don't want to be a research scholar, because you need to be in the US. If I want to be the good one, I need to go there. I mean, the top one. That was kind of that impression I got. So when I came, I said, I need to combine something. Really, I want to do, I mean, business research needs to be in the company. So I had that feeling that I really need to show something and see the business. So that's why I came to Telenor. And today, I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. Not only making slides, hopefully, but actually enabling the company to be better. This is the role of a research innovation unit. We want Telenor to actually look ahead. We want Telenor to prepare for the future. We're responsible for long-term competitiveness of the company. So we're doing research. And this is really boring slide, sorry for that, but this is about our ambitions. So my role, I'm thinking, you know, is to get about 50 people that we have today into that same road. And believe me or not, research in Telenor is very integrated in the business. So I typically meet a lot of people asking questions, so what is research for the future? Quantum computing, is it something for Telenor? And then I'm also, we're responsible for contributing high-impact innovations, which means like we're doing some piloting on some of the technologies. AI is one. We work with customers. We work, for example, putting some mobile private networks, small kind of high-speed networks on ships. And we try to see if that makes the ship communicate better to the outside world. And this is kind of new. So we have also kind of new stuff we're putting on some important infrastructures in Norway. And then, for example, we're one of the first actually in Telenor, I would say probably also in Norway, 7, 8 years ago. We actually created the first Norwegian speech-to-text prototype in Telenor, which at that time was difficult because generative AI was not even in the fingers. But we used transformer actually architectures on the Norwegian language because we have hundreds of thousands customer calls in our call centers. So we could actually take the customer calls, like when you guys are calling us, we don't want you to call, but you call still a lot. And when you call, you say something. And when you say something, you typically say, how should I pay for my factura? Or the decning is not there, or something else, right? So what we did, we collected, with all privacy, of course, GDPR in place, we collected some of the, our calls. We transcribed those calls meticulously with our researchers and students into texts. And then we actually developed the machine who was able to do it automatically. So I mean, now it's nothing new, but 7, 8 years ago, for Norwegian, that was quite new. So that's exciting. So we do exciting stuff as well. And Telenor has also responsibility to the society, like what we do today. We try to inspire a lot of people, companies, students, academia. So we talk about things that are important. So I just came from one of the biggest, conferences in Europe for mobile technology. Always happens in Barcelona, always last week of February. It's called Mobile World Congress. And in this conference, you have 130,000 people coming in. And typically you have a lot of booths and a lot of companies. So we were there as well. And what I heard there is that, AI is everywhere. Everyone talks about it. And typically we also there. So we have researchers talking loud about stuff they do. This is exciting. So I just want to inspire you that, this is great not only to code something, but it's also great to organize the work and to lead people and to inspire people on actually making business out of AI. So when we talk about research, so what do we do? What's my role? One of the roles that I have is I have to constantly remind people, or not me, but they probably inspire me more than I do, say, hey, Eva, but there's something out there, a new published article. And this is actually from Elisa, one of the networks that I really like in Europe, that actually doing European machine learning network, that they say, well, the future teams for AI. We look if this is of interest to Telenor, to look at this. Is it something of a business value for us? Is it something we want to do research with? So that's what it is, new research frontier. Europe is not kind of the only universe we were looking at. We're looking around. So as a research and innovation director, I also try to continuously push, guys, but what's coming out from the best people in the world? So this is the DARPA, Breakthrough Technologies and Capabilities. I think I took the picture kind of half a year ago. So what the American most intelligence defense research guys are looking at, because security is very important. Believe me or not, every day, Telenor receives around 200,000 fraudulent, not receives, but attempts, 200,000 attempts of fraudulent SMS every day. So what we're doing now, really strongly, we're looking at threat intelligence landscape a lot because this has changed. And we're also developing technology to respond. So where to look at? This is where you need to look at, because these are kind of one of the top guys in the world doing some fantastic research. And then we also, in our Telenor, we're also developing what's called technology radar. This is happening also in Telenor Research and Innovation. So the technology radar is like Telenor's view about the future. So this is one of the jobs, right? And I'm sure so many of you could do the job even better. But contributing to innovation, what is that? I want to share some of the reflections, and that's Sylvia, your slide, I think. I just copied from one of these fantastic sessions that you did for us. So when we think how to innovate, we typically look at the environment around us. And this picture needs to change now, because I think NVIDIA needs to go up. But typically, we look at the companies around us, and this is the largest company, I know this needs to change, in the world by market capitalization. So we wonder typically, what do those companies do that they are successful? Can we bring that to Norway? As you said for girls, can we bring that success to Telenor and the rest? So it's not easy to convince researchers to look at that, but that's my job. So I need to continuously challenge. And then there's a fantastic VUCA award. I know a little bit by studying strategy, what that is. But this is really an understanding how we operate in a very volatile, uncertain, and complex world. And this is tricky. Because one of the things we do, and of course my role is to try to inspire We typically, in companies like Telenor, we have these legacies going for ages, where we typically have big plans. It used to be 5-year plans. Then we used 1-year plans. Then we have teams. It doesn't go anywhere like this. It is about innovating, is finding problems, and I sometimes say iterating until you faint. It's really like that. And believe me, for companies like Telenor, the big one, legacy companies, making that stuff happen, it's tough, it's difficult, because we are really not there. So my role is also trying to kind of inspire, not my own guys, but Telenor, to think like a developer. Not being a developer myself, but kind of trying to kind of get the dots, seeing those companies, being with those companies, talking to those companies, sensing what they do. Hey guys, we need to do something similar. Yes. What I also learned, and this is what I want to share, being in AI, it's not only about coding. One of the biggest challenges in AI adoption is not technology. It's people and organization. And what I mean by that is because we actually are learning how to use, we are afraid, we are concerned, we don't know. This slide also very inspiring for me, because we also learning that Telenor or telecoms, we are never going to do AI alone. And we used to kind of own the stack ourselves. So now we're actually looking at these ecosystems, meeting the guys all over and trying to collaborate. So what do you need as knowledge? It's not only IT, you need girls and boys on knowing how to manage partners, how to organize work, how to run and kind of lead people. This is the work that I believe also a lot of us women and men can do and should do. So this is just what also to make sure, to hopefully also inspire that you may not need a high-tech background to do work in AI, which is equally important. And then some of the observations of what is happening in AI today. Actually, I was interviewed today by one of the biggest consultancy houses, which they try to understand what is the level of Gen AI adoption in Norway. And I said more or less like this: 90% of AI use cases, unfortunately, is not in the production. And this is a challenge. So the last thing on innovation, what I'm experiencing now, is that there's a lot of talk about AI. Very few people actually do in companies at production level. A lot of use cases, pocket use cases. I would say a lot of Norwegian companies probably are somewhere in the first and the second. Some data governance is actually going, so some journey is actually going on to move the workloads to the cloud. And then one thing I like about generative AI, suddenly AI is in the boardrooms. It's the last couple of months. It's everywhere. So why is that? Because the leaders, when you talk about AI, they don't want to miss up and don't mess up. So this is my quote, and I hope you like the picture. And why I put the picture? Because I want to tell and to say clearly that in this very hyped world of AI, companies that stay are the ones who are very realistic on what actually AI can do. So here's my quote: in such AI hype times like this, it's important to focus on value creation. Technology hypes come and go. We talk AI winters and summers. No, not so much summers, winters. But customers do not. So, and there will be no easy wins in AI journey. I truly believe it, because this is where we need more role models of talking business, not only tech, and actually tech with real applications. And the last thing, you've probably heard, I know there are people in the room who do a lot of great work, looking at you, Hilda, here, on responsible AI. in practice. This is a fascinating topic. I think this will be an important topic for many years to go. The challenge with this topic is that it's still not concrete. I mean, we talk a lot philosophy here, but we really need to be super concrete. What it really means for companies like Telenor to implement responsible AI in practice. So this is from the picture from my work in the European Commission 5 years ago, where the expert group where I was lucky to be part created the first ethical framework of responsible AI. And at that time we said there are 7 principles. I put here 5 for simplicity. Yes, 5. Which will be important for companies, for technologists, for students, for academia to look around and do something about. Autonomy, huge philosophical debate and non-philosophical debate, how and if humans should be in the loop. Should we lose to technology or not? Robustness, is it safe to use AI? We actually today understand that the security landscape around us have intensified dramatically because of generative AI. How do we respond? Fairness, there was given an example of actually job offers. How can we actually make sure that women are offered the jobs when the world is biased in high tech? Explainability and transparency. Yeah, I want to finish probably with one quote. And this is from my very favorite book from where I come from. This is the book Competing in the Age of AI, written by strategists, one of the best strategists from Harvard Business Review, and then they are scholars. And what they're saying, I think important message for companies, if those of you are interested to how do you really deploy. For leaders of traditional firms, competing with digital rivals involves more than deploying enterprise software, even building data pipelines. It requires re-architecting the firm's organization. So when I talk to my CEO, I typically am not using this quote, but I try to explain that AI is not just a technology. It's actually a tool to make better organizations. And then the second, what they say, they push for improvement and innovation and added a third requirement for firms, which is learning. So thanks a lot. I was happy to be here and share my experience.